going, everybody? This is ECL Force. I'm a bit late with this one, but I wanted to give a quick character impressions from the closed beta of Granblue Fantasy Versus. These opinions are all my own, and I'm kind of gathering data from what I've played, as well as what I've kind of witnessed from secondhand or seeing it on stream, or match VODs that you can find on YouTube somewhere. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. So first up, it's kind of natural to start with the main character, as it would appear, who is Gran. He's the staple. He's the equivalent to a Shoto in this game, though his characteristics aren't entirely akin to a Shoto. It's more similar to how Soul Bad Guy plays in the Guilty Gear franchise. He has all the resources in the game available to him, and he's pretty well-rounded as a result, but that doesn't really mean he excels in anything. Some of his normals, he has an abusable 2A. It's insane. It's plus on block. You can keep pressure up. If you dash in, you can get multiple hits on block at a time, and that can keep you in their face and keep your pressure game going, and it's special cancelable and can link into other normals as well. 5B, 2B, and 5C are great normals for neutral, and they're really good for hit confirms or buffers. 2D is super low profile, and it's, again, akin to Soul Bad Guy's 2D, where he can low profile a lot of really high normals or projectiles. 2C is pretty strong for anti-air if, 1, you can't react with a DP in that instance, or 2, your DP is on cooldown. Jumping D is nutty. It covers pretty much everywhere underneath him. Gran has a good fireball. The B version can swat with the first hit and then send a projectile back with the second. He has a DP as well. That in of itself is pretty good. The 241 series is pretty good. The max distance 241B is safe and maybe plus. It's to be determined. And his 5D is okay. It's a charge that empowers an attack from the stance that he takes in 5D, which, when it's fully charged, he can sling a pretty decent normal that's in full during its active frames, but not on its startup frames. You can practically get a level of charge from any knockdown and still apply pressure afterwards, so it's pretty useful as a unique action. Overall, I think Gran is a really good character, and definitely one of the better from the beta. Next we will look at Katalina, and this is more akin to what I would say a Shoto is for this game. And she also has Mitsuru normals. All of her B moves are fantastic, though I feel like 2B should probably hit low. You can block it standing in the beta. This is made up for by the fact that your 2D hits low, but again, I'm not really too sure what the game plan is with that yet. 5C is a great move for counter poking or trying to shimmy people, though shimmying can kind of be here nor there in this game because of the walk speed, but that's something I'll cover in a later video. 2C is alright as an anti-air, but it kind of struggles against jump-ins that are really close to you, or cross-ups even, so it's best to just go to your DP. And speaking of which, her DP is super reliable. It is probably the best DP in the beta. Her fireball is great. The EX extends pressure very easily. Once you get them in the corner, it honestly feels like Super Turbo's corner pressure with fireballs, and it's pretty satisfying to use. Her 214 lunge is really solid as well. If you space it properly, it is safe on block. Otherwise, it's just a useful combo move or another way to get in. But yeah, it is really just a solid move. And that's kind of the theme for this character, feels like. If you play solid and with moderation, then you'll be rewarded. She has no overwhelming gimmicks or tricks to mix people up, but she's still a very good character, I think. Oh, except for her D move. Her D move, the Wall of Light, it is OD. It is literally a focus attack. You can dash cancel it and take your turn back, and it completely smashes through someone when they don't know when to hit buttons. It's pretty abusable, at least during this time period. I think people will adjust to it more just like they did the focus attack in Street Fighter 4. And it isn't nearly as rewarding as the focus attack was, but it is still a very, very useful move, and I think it's one of her better points as a character. Next we have Lancelot, who is probably the person that I invested most of my time with in this beta, alongside Katalina. I think that he's a really good character that is going to flourish with more time in the lab. He allows for a lot of open-ended offense and mix, but that's kind of at the cost of his neutral being whatever, and his range follows in suit with that. His A normals are pretty good, really good staggers on his close AAA, and his 2A is good for pressure, and a quick low that can give a full combo. His B moves are underwhelming. 5B is at an awkward angle and doesn't really reach very far, and 2B isn't too great either, but I think it's at least better than the standing variant. Far C is his best poke, and you can combo off of it from the Rekkas. 2C is great for setting up counter hits, which you'll definitely want to get with this character. Fireball is good for Oki and pressure, and the 2-2 series is good for getting him out of bad situations, or putting himself in a good one even. The 6-6 series extends pretty far, it's a dashing attack, and it's a good combo tool, and can side switch in certain scenarios. His Rekkas are good, especially the B version. Counter hitting on the first hit of the B Rekka will give you a full combo, so it makes his stagger game really scary in your face. His D skills are kind of what defines him as a character, and really tells you what his goals are. It's to mix people. A lot of the D dashes and teleports are about left and right, which is pretty weak in this game because of the system mechanics in place with the block button, but it still gives him plenty of mobility, and the low profile 2D is really useful at avoiding high attacks and jump-ins, since he doesn't really have a great way to deal with them other than air throw. But yeah, overall I think Lancelot's a super solid character, and definitely one of the more fun from the beta, and I most certainly look forward to using him in the final build. And Ferry. Ferry is kind of everyone's favorite from the beta, I think. This is who I feel is the best character out of the 5 in the beta, but not by a huge margin or anything. She has a lot of tools that make a character really outstanding on day 1, and it requires you to have a lot of matchup knowledge in order to navigate around her oppressive normals and specials. With that being said, there really isn't too much to say about the character other than that. She has a lot of abusable B moves, some punishable on block up close, but otherwise just cancel into the whip grab and you're pretty safe at range. Up close you can cancel into the wheel or the little spinneroonie. I don't actually know what the name of this move is, I just watched the character. I played against her in the beta in case that wasn't obvious. Probably her most useful, or at least most obnoxious tool is the bombs. They cover such a long distance and they force you to move almost every time. Since grounded movement is somewhat limited in this game, it can force you into the air a ton. Specifically the EX version, it chases you down no matter where you are on the screen. If you don't move, then she gets to run her offense for free and put you in block stun. And she can essentially get what appears to be a 50-50 with the rising jump A or a low into a full combo. Another outstanding trait for the character is her install super. It's super ridiculous. It lets her cancel fire normals into others, and probably the best part is canceling the dive kick into other aerials. You can dive kick at any range into a jump attack, and it forces your pressure, and you constantly put the opponent in disadvantage over and over again with it. In addition to the install super, she also has a setup super, which is kind of like Third Strike Oro's Yagyodama ball super. She also has an invincible DP. I think she's a really strong character, but I don't think she needs to be adjusted. There's a lot of answers to her in neutral and ways to deal with her pressure that people aren't really exploiting yet, but as time continues and we develop strategies further and further, I think the answers will kind of reveal themselves to people more and more. And Charlotta, the potato and the small demon child. But in reality, she's just as good as the rest of the cast, and she's not anything extraordinary. She's also the only charge character in this beta. For her size, her normals are pretty strong. She's difficult to hit, but she has no problem hitting you. This makes her pretty alright all in its own. She's pretty safe on a lot of her specials, and in some instances she's left at advantage and continue her pressure afterwards. The most outstanding of her moves is, in my opinion, the jump A, which is a hitbox that lingers until she hits the ground, and it is super difficult to deal with without an invincible DP. Her hitbox extends in such a way that you can't rise up to try and meet her in the air. You will get hit every single time, so you have to meet her with an invincible DP. Other than that, though, there really isn't that much to say. She has to play neutral at the end of the day because most of her mix-up comes from her demon flip, which is kind of gimmicky. It's like a move that has only one option that hits high and everything else can be ducked or blocked low. But while she does have to repeatedly beat you in the neutral, it's very easy for her to play the neutral because of how safe a lot of her options are. And keeping pressure up with her blade flurry is very easy to do, and it puts her at a perfect distance to try and strike again and keep the pressure going. She's a good character that I think will perhaps get stronger upon release once people start experimenting with her a bit more in the lab and kind of understanding more of her frame data. Once we figure out how abusable some of her specials and normals are, I think she will definitely improve over time. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this. My final tier list for the first Granblue closed beta is the best characters being, in order, Ferry and Katalina, and then beneath that in the strong tier, or A+, I would say, is everyone else. Everyone else is extremely good. I think all the characters in this closed beta so far are very usable and super strong in their own right. and I think the game is going to open up and flourish even more once we get our hands on it later this year. Alright, that'll be it for me. Peace, everybody.